All right, sun's setting in Atlanta, and I recently sent a piece to Greece, and I thought to invite you up to the porch to tell you a little bit about the show and the piece that got into the show. Oh, you have to see this cloud before I start telling you about the exhibition. Is the Big Blue Dot International Ceramics Biennial. This is their second round, and it opens on June 7th, 2026. It was a juried exhibition, and the part of the theme of the exhibition was that it required that there must be some sort of connection to the Mediterranean basin. And when I saw the call, I just like, well, this is serendipitous. I'd just come from doing a residency last summer in Italy at a small medieval hilltop village called Monte Castello, where the International Center for the Arts is located. And they have ceramics facility and have ceramics as part of the residency program, which is fitting because it's also very close to Deruta, which is where Maiolica was established. The tradition of Maiolica flourished in that area and was developed in Deruta ages ago. And the timing to do that residency was really good for me because I've already been thinking about this idea of referencing the amphora and just vessels, historical vessels in general, as a means by which culture has delivered and transported content. It's an interesting connection compared to the reference of the digital space that I've been working in for so long. There's something about the stark contrast of speed and duration that is interesting to me. Like the amphora has always been used to transport stories and narratives and information and hold on to it. And clay is such an archival medium that the narrative is sort of set there. So it's slow to move, it's slow to disperse. It's individual in its ability to be perceived by others. It doesn't fan out, but it's everlasting. I mean, ever. Eventually it won't be lasting, I guess, but in human terms, it's very, very archival, which is basically the antithesis to the way information moves through the media that we utilize today. So this video has the potential to spread and reach so many people instantaneously, and then it lasts, but it lasts as long as the ones and zeros sort of are embedded into the system. I'm interested in that sort of tension of time in utilizing a substrate that is rooted in our history so deeply and then acts in contrast to the way that digital media operates. This work also is the first time that I've not used imagery that I've captured with either a digital camera or my phone and then translated in some way through digital technology. So, usually I would take a photograph and then watercoloring it or digitally drawing it and then using that as my surface embellishment. And with this work, I'm coming back to the hand as a means by which to create the imagery on the surface. There still is sort of the use of my iPad to move and sort of sketch and play around and decide where surfacing goes. And there's still reference to the digital space. I'm still using this sort of square pattern, or the checkered pattern, the grid pattern, as the idea of like pointing to the digitization and movement of information digitally. And also obviously it's the sort of foundational pattern, the primal pattern that all else can stem forward from the simplicity of 1 and 0. But I'm also incorporating in this work traditional motifs that are utilized from various cultures. And I focus more specifically on Maiolica motifs. It was relevant for where I was. And I'm not as interested in the symbolic narrative quality of those things or the symbolism of how they have historically been used, but in more about the idea that these symbols have been lasting and that they've moved forward in time and are still painted on surfaces to this very day. And that idea, that sort of the idea that the same imagery is painted by hand by artisans today is the thing that's interesting to me, more so than the actual symbol that it represents historically. And so to push on that idea, I made this piece with the idea that I would not be the only one making the marks on this piece. So I developed the composition, decided where things would go, and then I worked with 2 master Maiolica workshops in Deruta. We're on our way to Deruta. We're going to the painters through the little streets of Monte Castello, taking this piece that I carefully have to hold and not touch because all the pencil lines will come off if I touch them. And we're taking it to get painted at Deruta. To paint the Maiolica on the surface. Studio and Gallery Newly, and I'm probably not pronouncing this right, sorry. And so I had the dragon figures painted there, and then after that side was painted, the other side was painted at Studio Goretti. And this was just an amazing experience to sort of create a piece with people who are really trained in the traditional aspect of the craft. That it wasn't that they're to be able to capture the fact that in their bodies, the creation of the imagery happened centuries ago and passed from master to apprentice for such a long, like there's such a long line of that passage of knowledge that's held in the way that we move our body. It's not just like the passage of knowledge in a book to another person, like the abstraction of the knowledge, but it's like it's a tether that's held in the body. And that's fascinating to me. And I think it just adds another layer of information to the piece that I wouldn't be able to do by doing everything by hand myself. And now I'm making work of the sorts myself as well, but that particular piece is the piece that carries that thread through centuries of tradition. And I'm excited that it's going back to the Mediterranean basin, to Greece. It's also exciting to share this piece with people who I think will appreciate the creative use of motifs and the amalgam of information that's held, and the connection to the history of the place that it's even going back to. So yeah, that's the piece that I was working on. I'm looking forward to making similar yet different pieces in the future. It's a cat. It's okay. Hold yourself. Orota. Huva.